For us, a lead is anyone that owns a home. We'll convince you to sell us your home as long as you own a home. She said, I'll give you 12 months. If you can make $1 million, you don't have to go to college.
At 17.
17 years old, we had established a multi-million-dollar company.
Jeez.
So it's called Blue Ocean Strategy, and it talks about if everyone's going this way, how can you capitalize on going this way?
I love it. What's going on, y'all? It is Eric Cline back with the Real GOAT podcast. And you know I bring the real people on here. It's all about showing results. And that's exactly what I bring to this audience. I have a very, very special guest and a business partner of mine, Shawn out of ATL Atlanta. And we're gonna chop it up for the next, 30, 45 minutes and just pour into y'all. And more importantly, it's a real guy doing real numbers. So I said, if you can't show the numbers, just shut up. So Shawn, let them know who you are, my man.
Eric, pleasure for me to be here, for sure. I mean, yeah, guys, Eric kind of nailed it in the head. Been in the wholesale space since 2019. Started when I was 16 years old. At the age of 17, I led my company to right at $2 million in assignment fees, all documented. Following year, we did close to 3 million. Last year, we did just under 3 million. This year, we're shooting for close to 4 million. And that's kind of our story. So from the age of 16 to 21, that's what I've been able to do. We've sold right under, I just did the math on this last night. We sold just under $100 million worth of real estate from 16 to 21. That's what weve done.
I love it. So for anybody that was a lot right there.
Yeah.
Started at 16 years old.
Yes.
So you were still in high school.
So funny story. So I graduated high school early. So I went into private school.
Yeah.
I kept on meeting with my counselor. I wasn't good in school in the sense of I didn't like going.
Yeah.
So, and when I would go, I would be the class clown, that kind of a deal with me. So basically what happened was I started flipping sneakers back when I was 13 years old. That's another story. But as time progressed, I started making some good money, and it got down to the point where I was literally like, hey, I'm making the same amount as my teachers.
Yeah.
Why am I still here? And so I went to my guidance counselor and I was like, hey, here's the situation. I want to leave public school.
Yeah.
She's like, well, you got to get your diploma. And so I appreciate her for giving me that advice. I went into private school, Penn Foster Academy up in Pennsylvania, and knocked it out in 2 summers, graduated at 16, and I'm already 2 years ahead of where everyone else was at my age. So I took that time and explored different things and kind of ended up in wholesaling.
And you just turned 21. Just turned 21.
So now I'm old enough to get, I don't drink, but I'm old enough to get my team bottles for their work anniversaries. Before, I would have to get someone else to come with me with their ID to go to the liquor store to get gifts and all that stuff. Now I can go by myself.
Yeah. So I have a hard time not referring to Shawn as a kid because my daughter is actually a little bit older than Shawn.
Wow.
Here's the cool thing about mine and his relationship is we actually met. I didn't know how old he was. I didn't know really what type of an operation he had because social media is absolutely, I'd say 99% of it is fake. Very misleading. And we had met each other at a mastermind, crossed paths, shook hands, and had a conversation, 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes. He told me his age there, and I was like, Jesus, dude, because at the time you were either 19 or 20. 19 years old. And this is for all of you out there that think your age plays a factor. This dude was 16 years old in high school closing deals and ran a $1 million company.
Yeah.
So whatever age you're at, let this be a perfect example of that's a limiting belief within your mindset that whatever age you are, you can't go and wholesale, whether it's virtually or in person. This guy right here has done it. He's doing it at a large scale. But getting back to when I had first met him, we met at a mastermind. I figured out how, he told me how old he was, what type of numbers he was doing, and I was suspicious.
Fair. Okay, that's fair.
And I was like, all right, maybe it's just lip service. Maybe he's doing it for the gram, right? And some time had went by, and I was out in Atlanta, your backyard.
Yep.
And I was at an event speaking at one of our buddies' pop like meetups or for his masterminds, Donnie. And Shawn was there. And I'm like, man, I flew in a little bit early. Why don't I go fact check this dude?
Verify.
I was gonna verify. So I'm in Atlanta. I pull up to an office. Not a lot of people have offices, and I'm like, all right, check, he's got an office. Like the whole time, I'm like, all right, check, he's got an office. I go up the elevator, and you're in the Salesforce building.
So we're like we're the only non-$100 million company in that building. Top 10 floors are occupied by Salesforce. We're on the 22nd floor. We got the whole views of Atlanta, basically.
Yeah.
Punching above our weight was the motto.
I love it. I love it. So we get to the Salesforce build. I get to the Salesforce build, and I'm like, all right, this maybe he's really doing this thing. Get in the elevator, go up. I get it as soon as I walk into his office, I heard the buzz, and I'm like, all right, it's not just Shawn in here. Yeah. It's not just him and maybe one or two other people. Yeah. So I couldn't see anybody because I had to walk in a little bit. I turn the corner. Yeah. And I see desks. Yeah. I see people in them. I see phones to ears. I see screens with numbers on it. Yep. And I'm like, I know what to look for. Yeah. I was still suspicious. I'm like, all right, I see it all. Then I start looking at the numbers. Then he starts showing me the numbers. And it was just a matter of 30 minutes of being in that office, maybe even less than that. I'm like, he's a real one. He's a real one. He's doing real numbers. And I was amazed. Like when I hear about guys that are the age that Shawn is. Listen, I'm 42 years old. I got double the life on me. Yeah. And the numbers that he was doing, man, I am thoroughly, thoroughly impressed. Yeah. It keeps guys like me motivated when I know I got these young cats that are fucking racing and running. Yeah. Like, it keeps me motivated, man. Keeps me on my toes. So it was a breath of fresh air to know that when I came in there, you were really doing this damn thing. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I think the biggest thing for me is, and how I got there in such a short amount of time, is I did a good job of not getting sucked in to all the Instagram fugaziness that exists out there. I chose very carefully what I listened to. You know, the Republicans, they listen to Fox, the Democrats listen to CNN, and everyone formulates their opinions from the information they gather on a daily basis. Yeah. So for me, I was very careful from a very early age on who I listened to. Yeah. And I didn't listen to a lot of people on Instagram, quite frankly. There were a few people that I would listen to on Instagram. Mainly, I would go and I would speak to real sources like attorneys. Yeah. Go ask them, hey, is this wholesaling thing even legit? And most of these guys haven't even heard about it. Yeah. So I didn't have a lot of guidance at that age, 4 years ago, when there were no Eric Clines and those types of people out there now that sell this information for so cheap and get you in, and they can guide you in the whole 9 yards. We didn't have that coming up in the game. So I came from the school of hard knocks. Yeah. We started this thing. I got a WeWork office. It was a 90 square foot office, like a broom closet. Yeah. I took me and 8 of my friends from fucking high school. I shouldn't cuss. You're good. All right. From high school. It's me, bro. Yeah. From high school. Yeah. And we just sat in, commission only. I bought a list, not leads. I bought a list. And I had everyone cold call. And the quota was basically, we're going to go from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock every day, Monday to Saturday. By 2 o'clock, you got to generate 9 leads, and then we're going to follow up same day from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and we're just going to make offers, right? And so that was our game. That's how we got started. And then slowly but surely, brick by brick, we built it up. We moved into a bigger office. We started paying people salaries. We got more serious people coming in through the door. We learned about how to go through business. I got, and everyone has their ups and downs. Yeah. Employees left, stabbed me in the back, went off and started their own thing. We learned about non-competes. Yeah. We learned, hey, we need to hire in threes because, quite frankly, if 3 people come in, one guy's, by the end of the training, he's either not going to be a good fit for us or we're not a good fit for him. Yep. One guy's going to stick around for 6 months and one guy's going to be our rock star. Yeah. So let's go hire in threes. And, these things you don't learn, right? If there's a need to hire one person, most people will just go hire one person. Yep. So learning the small intricacies of business is where I think I had the advantage. I didn't say, hey, I'm going to go be a wholesaler. I said I'm going to go be a business owner first. There you go. And a wholesaler second. Yeah. again, in his teens, y'all. Damn, I'll stop mentioning that now. I've said it enough.
The trick is the beard, not the
but
trick.
This is the thing. There's so many young people out there right now. Hey, before we get back to the video, you hear me and Shawn talking about these cold callers. It's all about the lead flow in order for you to scale and get the consistent results that I know you're so desperately needing. What I want you to do is click this link below and get cold callers from Run It Remote. Trained by me, managed by me, to where you can finally get the lead flow that ultimately is gonna equal the deal flow that you see me and my team getting on a consistent basis. Click the link below, get cold callers, trained by your boy. That can relate to you, that can't relate to me. I'm double your age, that are in their senior year of high school right now, that are wondering, do I go to college? And I'm not saying there's any, I personally didn't go. Did you go to college?
I did not.
All right, I didn't go to college, you didn't go to college.
Funny story about that.
Yeah, but there's so many people out there right now that are where you were 4 years ago, wondering what path should I take? And like, you don't have to go to college unless you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, something where it is very specific that you have to go there. Like, in 4 years, he has made millions of dollars, millions of dollars, and he didn't go to college. He picked a path that most people at his age wouldn't have done. So we go, and then I want to talk a little about, because he had said, and I don't know if anyone caught this, cold calling. When you started out, you started out cold calling.
Banging the phones.
Banging the phones.
We couldn't afford any leads. So what we did was we just bought raw data and we would go manually again, this is where we were business first, wholesaler second. We never went the traditional route of, all the gurus at the time were saying the same thing. Hey, pull this exact list and this is all you can pull. And you have to find motivated sellers, people going through divorces, they have a death in the family, they're about to get foreclosed on. We didn't follow that trend. We said, hey, and I read a book, it's called Blue Ocean Strategy, and it talks about if everyone's going this way, how can you capitalize on going this way?
I love it.
And so while everyone's going this way and they're only targeting the people that are getting divorces, deaths in the family, pre-foreclosures, we just said, hey, we believe in ourselves so much, and I'm going to speak on betting on yourself. That's so important. But we bet on ourselves. We said we're such good salespeople. For us, a lead is anyone that owns a home. If you own a home, I'll convince you based on wherever the interest rates are, or your kid's about to move to high school, he's moving schools, whatever it is, we'll convince you to sell us your home as long as you own a home. Whether I gotta tell you financially it makes sense because of where the interest rates are, or hey, did you know that your school score ranking of where you're staying at right now is a 6 out of 10? What if I told you for the same price, relatively, what I give you cash, you can move into a school district that's a 9 out of 10 rating? Don't you want your children to have a better education? So for us, it was just about, hey, we'll bet on ourselves.
Let's go.
Right? We'll just bet on ourselves. For us, a lead is anyone that raises their hand that even just owns a home. So we said, screw it, we'll just go bang the phone. Because we didn't have any money to afford leads when we started off with this thing. So that's how we started, just cold calling, straight up.
Let's keep it real, y'all. Come on now.
Man.
Hopefully you paid attention to that, people.
And so then we moved up. We graduated as we started building it brick by brick. When we moved into our bigger office, out of the broom closet, I call it, we went over and hired VAs. And I started training them. And quite honestly, that was a time where I distracted myself a lot. It was really tough because I'm managing a whole team in the States. I never did this model without a team.
Got it.
Day one, I brought guys in with me because I wanted to build something fun. And I think it's because I missed out on that college experience. I wanted a group of guys that I can build with, right? And I made betting on yourself, again, just a quick side note. The deal was, because you asked me if I went to college or not, the deal was I spoke with my mother. And my mother had one clear bet she made with me. She said, hey, if you can make $1 million in a year, I'll give you 12 months, you don't have to go. After I graduate high school, she said, hey, what's next? You got to go to college. I family of immigrant parents, that kind of deal, they really want me to graduate college. She said, I'll give you 12 months. If you can make $1 million, you don't have to go to college. And sure enough, I made the million. And
at
again,
18?
At 17.
At 17.
17 years old, we had established a multi-million-dollar company.
Jesus.
So January and then February was my birthday. So my 17/18 year, I did just shy, like 1.996 million in wholesaling. And that was my first full year doing it at a big scale. And the whole reason for it at the time, basically what happened was I started distracting myself because I got a whole team here and I was trying to go hire a team across the ocean, train them up, teach them what wholesaling is, manage them, and make sure they cold call to make sure my closers have leads. And so that is how I scaled.
You went where? Where'd you go?
So I went to the Philippines originally.
Got it.
Right?
And then
where everyone goes.
You're how old at this time?
This time, like 16, 17, like 17 call it. 17
right.
now. I'm
Keep
17
rolling.
now.
Keep rolling.
17 now, I'm in the Philippines. I'm training a team in the Philippines on how to do this whole cold calling thing. Meanwhile, I got my closers here. My closers basically said, look, Shawn, they were getting burnt out. We were having a really quick turnover.
Because the grind of the cold call.
Yeah, and it's just like
brutal.
Most people, yeah, and this is exactly why most people don't succeed, especially in our industry, is because you can get burnt out very easily in our industry. And there's a lot of paths to turn and a lot of ways you can go wrong real quick in this industry. And so the problem was we were having a really high salesperson turnover. Our sales guys just weren't sticking after 90 days. They were like, I'm done. I'd rather go flip burgers at McDonald's than sit here and hear 300 people tell me no and cuss me out when I ask them if they're interested in selling their house. So I said, okay, well, this isn't scalable. So I went over to the Philippines. I hired 10 guys and we started dialing. And that same thing we did here, we just did in the Philippines. And what happened was now our labor rates got cheaper. So we're paying significantly less, like over half less than what minimum wages is what we're paying to people that are doing the same job. And all it required was training and management. And so that's how we scaled. In that first year that we did that 2 million, 100% of it was cold calling. Not a dollar in anything else besides just cold calling. We sent our payroll every week over overseas. We got the leads every week, and that's all we did.
Got it.
And that's how we scaled it to a multi-million dollar.
So cold calling is not dead.
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, it's more alive now than it's ever been because there's more access to better data, better talent, and better scripts to co-align everything into existence. And with text messaging going obsolete now with the new laws, cold calling is more alive than it ever has been before because now we've already killed a major channel on how to interact with a seller. Now we have to move on to something else, and it's cold calling.
Cold calling. Cold calling has been I've only been in this space for just under 3 years. Spent over a decade in another industry, absolutely disrupting it, built an 8-figure business. Coming into this space, cold calling has been our #1 lead source since the day I stepped foot into this industry. We do a little bit of PPC, but cold calling trumps it every single month. Month over month, year over year, cold calling has been our #1. So to kind of pivot into when I was at Shawn's office, and I verified he was real, verified the numbers were real. He had a team, he built a business. He told me of like where he was headed. We sparked up a conversation because as soon as I started talking to him, I knew he was a sales guy.
Yes.
And if you're getting into wholesaling, it's nothing but sales and marketing, right? Would you agree?
It's not a real estate business.
All right, bam. So you can pivot into real estate very easily, buying, flipping,
private equity, rentals, Airbnb.
Yeah. But when I was out there, I asked Shawn, I was like, because I didn't hear anyone else converting or scaling a wholesale operation the way I had done it off cold calling.
Yeah.
And I asked Shawn, I'm like, hey, brother, where are you getting your leads from? And he goes, cold calling. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
We got another dog in the house.
Yep.
Because most people say cold calling is dead. It's not dead. Your sales process and your conversion rate is dead.
Or you're just lazy. The problem is, and I think this is the problem that the people that came up in the industry have been preconditioned. You guys want your leads to be preconditioned. The problem is you guys are preconditioned in the sense that you think the only lead that you can close is someone going through a divorce, there's a death in the family, or you're about to go bankrupt, and that's the only lead you can close. Otherwise, a lead isn't a lead, and that just simply isn't the case. You're just not good enough in your sales process.
Love
that's
it.
What it boils down
Preach.
to. And Eric, another thing you touched on was the cold calling and how it's the #1 revenue stream. #1, he said it. Another thing is it's also the most profitable, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong in our industry. They say this top line number, but no one's talking about their profitability. And the thing is, what's proven in both of our operations, I can say this confidently, is cold calling is also much more profitable than anything else if you have it dialed in properly, because you're getting access to such cheap labor rates overseas. It cannot compete with what you're paying, sometimes $400 or $500 for one lead on Google. And your sales process isn't dialed in. So you're better off cold calling, getting more leads in the door, and having more shots you can take. Higher increases your chances of conversion, and it keeps your profit margin higher. You take more home to your family at the end of the day.
All of 2023, and I have receipts to back all this up. 2023, we got a 10x return on our marketing spend through cold calling. Boom. PPC, I love it. I'll never not have it. Paid ads. This one was specifically Google ads. We got a 4.7 return on our marketing spend. Those are real numbers for 2023.
I think the problem is people, again, in our industry, sadly, just aren't consistent.
They're not.
And so the problem is that you hear these numbers that Eric's talking about, but you don't realize Eric's been doing this for 3 years. And there's been times where I'm sure that cold calling performed terribly. But over time, when you look at it over 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, you see that 10x return he's talking about. The problem is, and this is the biggest thing with us, to this day, Eric, we fund on deals for leads that we've had sitting in our system for a year, 2 years, that were cold call leads.
I just said this on a podcast last night with Robert Winsley. Is every single month, without fail, we get 5 to 10 deals every month from leads that are 6 months or older. Every single month, 5 to 10. And again, I have proof for that. But it comes from an SMS drip campaign, because when a lead gets sent over, everything has to align. There's so many things that have to line up.
They got to be in a good damn mood at the end of the day,
I was just getting ready to say that. Dude, you got to make sure you're, if they just got off 1 or 2 calls, either that day or the day before, of another wholesaler that pissed them off,
they're burnt.
Dude, that lead's going to have to sit for a minute. So time and circumstances is so important when it comes to making sure a deal is going to be a deal that day.
And I think what you just spoke about with the SMS drip campaign, most people don't have their processes dialed in at all, man. I mean, when a seller tells you, hey, don't call me for 6 months, in our office, we cut the number in half off the rip. So we're calling, if they say 6 months, we're really calling in 30 days. And and it's just casual, because we don't want them to give us the excuse of, I told you don't call me for 6 months. It's, hey, Mr. and Ms. Seller, hey, I know last time we spoke, you were talking about your German Shepherd, Benji. It just so happens I just saw a German Shepherd across the street when I was doing my morning walk, and it just made me think, how are you doing? Is everything okay? I know last time we spoke, you were pondering on selling the house. You told me to reach out in 6 months. I was just checking in, and the only reason I'm checking in is just because that German Shepherd reminded me of how much you love your German Shepherd. How's the German Shepherd doing, right? And just showing that sincerity, that you care, right? It gets the conversion rates going. But again, most people don't have their processes dialed in. When a seller tells them, call me in 6 months, you're calling them in 6 months, or you're just forgetting, or you're out of the game, because most people aren't consistent. Most people don't even make it to a point where you can have enough leads stacked up where you're getting 5 to 10 deals closed a month from leads that have been sitting in your CRM for over 6 months. It's just not happening.
I don't know if y'all just heard what he was talking about, the German Shepherd and calling and cutting the time in half. They say 6 months, call them 3. As long as you've taken notes from that very first phone call and you're active listening and you're jotting that down in your CRM or your Google sheet, and you have that information to say once you call them back, so they don't think you're just calling them for the first time. If you did not, rewind this real quick. Go back 3-4 minutes and take notes on that entire section. Because this is the problem with this industry, is the wrong information gets you the wrong results. You listen to the right information, it will absolutely set you free. And there's way too many educators or gurus to call them. The information is just wrong. I have nothing against them, but you can tell the real ones from the fake ones. You can tell the ones that have built the damn thing, or the ones that have tried, failed, and now they're teaching a broken process. It blows my mind. And he was talking about the getting the leads stacked up in your CRM. This is a lead game. The more leads you have, the more quality conversations you're gonna have, the more offers you're gonna make, which ultimately leads to the more deals you're gonna close on.
Money in your bank. And I think the biggest thing is we gotta have a mind shift I'm gonna speak on real quick.
Yes.
The problem is that most people see their leads as an expense. On your P&L, you write off as an expense. I challenge you to shift your mentality. Why can't your leads in your business, if we're truly in a sales and marketing business, your leads in your CRM that are exclusive to you should be treated like assets. This is not an expense that you can, turn off after just 2 months of doing it.
No.
If you truly care about your business, then you care about your lead gen. And if you care about your lead gen, you have to treat your leads more than just an expense that I'm burning money or I'm spending money. You got to change that mentality. It's an asset.
Yeah.
And that asset needs to be utilized to its fullest potential. You got to squeeze the juice completely out of that orange.
Yeah.
Otherwise, guys like me and Eric are just gonna come around and say, oh man, you got lowballed by the last guy? Well, hey, I'm gonna be the last guy you talk to. A lot of people don't even understand how to get around simple objections like, hey, well, you called me. Yeah. How do we get around that? Of course I called you. That means I'm interested in buying your property. And hey, you spoke to my assistant for 5 minutes explaining the details of your property, so clearly you're interested as well. We speak on, I know you're a Grant Cardone guy, I'd say, right? He's sales legend, right? And we talk about in our office as well, not interested is a level of interest.
Of course it is.
It is. And so you have to understand, again, going back to changing your mentality, I challenge you to treat your leads like an asset instead of an expense.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So let's get into, because I want to talk
Pakistan?
That's where I'm headed right now. So he said he tried out the Philippines.
Yeah.
Nothing against the Philippines. I've personally never been there. I don't know too many Filipinos. If I did shake hands with some, I'm sure they were amazing people. But when I was in Shawn's office and he started talking, now this was a good year or two after that story you explained, right?
Yes.
So we get to rapping. He says his number one lead source is cold calling. And I asked him, I'm like, bro, who does your cold call?
Yeah.
And he's like, I do. And I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, what really you got going on?
Yeah.
So he tells me this story. He was like, man, I was sick of outsourcing my cold calling. Whatever the story was, he explained that story, and then he goes, dude, I was like, I'm going to take control of all of this. And he says, you're Pakistani.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Your parents are from there.
My pops is. Yep,
Your
exactly.
pop is.
Yep, yeah.
So you got ties there.
Speak the language.
Speak the language. So he tells me, he's like, man, I flew over to Pakistan. I launched an office, and I got 40 people over there that feed my office leads every single day.
That's exactly what happened. Basically, again, going back to business over just wholesaling, the market was getting rough, the interest rates were spiking, and I said, let's bring this. The problem is how many call centers can you say, real estate call centers today, that genuinely also simultaneously run a real operation so they can relate and they understand the leads that they're sending you as their client? And I said, there aren't any. None. There's none out there that genuinely understand the leads to a T like I do, Eric does. And so I said, you know what, I got to take control of this because these other call centers don't understand this game the way we do. Yeah. And so again, I speak the language, that kind of a deal, and I flew out to Pakistan, and they had no idea there were no call centers for real estate. There weren't even call centers for real estate.
How old were you when you flew over there?
1920. I fly over, I get malaria, I'm on bed rest over there, and I have no idea what I'm doing. All I said was, I'm flying to Pakistan, and I'm gonna figure it out. Literally, I have no idea. No idea how you get an office over there, how you hire people over there, nothing. I fly over there, we find a real estate agent, he takes us around some sketchy properties, whatever, we find one property we like. They don't do night shift because we also wanted a call center that works simultaneously with us. Because obviously over there, it's nighttime when it's daytime over here. Yeah. So we needed to find a location that we could do night shift, 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. over there. They're working over there. Yeah. And so many obstacles. I got malaria. I was on bed rest in the hospital for 10 days. They're about to have to do a blood transfusion on me, all that crazy stuff. And ultimately, I was able to recruit people, train them up. All the main qualification is good English. We took them from good English. I taught them everything about real estate. I put a management team in place. I signed an office lease, and then we got 30, 40 callers in there, and then that's when you and I connected.
Yes. So, again, I said I wasn't going to bring it up. I got to bring it up. This dude's flying to other countries, 19, 20 years old. Anybody that is out there listening, don't let your age be the hurdle. Don't let your age be the thing that stops you. It does not matter, especially if you're going to do this virtually. The thing I love, if you see me right now, I am heavily tattooed. Just like you may be thinking your age is the thing that's gonna stop you, my appearance for so long when I first got in the sales game, which I picked up the phone 15 years ago almost, so I've always done virtual. I've never done the face-to-face. And the reason why is in the very beginning, I thought people were gonna judge me. I mean, I literally got "fuck you" tattooed on my ankles. Nobody is probably with a reasonable mind is gonna do business with me. So, but today I'm confident in who I am. I can sit across from somebody, and I love the way that I look, but it took years for me to actually get to that place. So with that being said, again, going back just to the age thing, you're not too young to get this started. If you're thinking, can I do this? The answer is yes. It all starts right here. Until you can sell yourself on the fact that you can do this, if you have the right people in your corner, you're surrounded by people that believe in you, it's 100% possible. Go now talking still on the Pakistan call center.
Yeah.
I'm in his office and I'm like, I hear this story again and I'm like, dude, this guy's a stud. I'm like, we're cut from the same cloth. And so I asked him, I'm like, Shawn, I said, let me hear some recordings.
Yeah.
He pulls up some recordings and I listen and I'm like, damn, this English is really good.
Yeah.
It was so good, I was almost suspicious. And he had a whole row of calls and I'm like, all right, this dude knew exactly what calls to pick. So I asked him, I'm like, hey, pick a couple more and let me listen to them.
Yeah.
He randomly picked a couple more and I'm like, wow. The English is really good over there. Yeah. Now, you also said you have a full-time English teacher in the office, right?
Yes,
so
full-time trainer.
The dude is taking this super serious. So I was outsourcing my cold calling at the time to another company. And I'm like, at this time, I'm like, man, Shawn's a real guy. I like him. Seems like he's ethical. He's got morals. Which me and my wife, that's the way we live. Yeah. We like to be surrounded by good people. Like, I've been around enough scumbags in my life. And I was like, Shawn, I'm like, dude, what if we partner up and we take this call center thing to another level? And I think we chewed on it for a couple days, had a couple conversations, went back and forth on whether or not we had a good alignment and synergy with one another.
Vision.
Vision, and we ultimately ended up partnering together. And again, we've only now physically met at this point 2 times.
Yeah.
And
2, 3 times,
Yeah, 2 or 3 times. And we ended up striking up a partnership. Run It Remote is the call center in Pakistan. And we have grown this thing to a level where I personally think we are disrupting the industry.
We are. We've got right now in the office, we're already over 200 full-time callers in the office.
Yeah.
Everyone gets trained by Eric every single week on handling objections. We're tweaking everything down to your English, the accent. We just implemented AI into the call center, and the AI has built out something to where the VA speak into a recording, into a mic, and the AI grades their English accent on a scale from 0 to 100, and based on what percentage rate they scored, they get a bonus.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. So everything down to like improving your English accent, right, is what we're doing.
And we are dialing, I mean, hundreds of thousands of numbers.
We just checked the numbers, actually. 400,000 dials a day. We're making 400,000 phone calls a day across the country.
That's a lot of dials, y'all. You couldn't possibly do that if you even wanted to.
No.
So, and it again, being our #1 lead source, we have converted, and everyone's gonna be different. So I don't want you to get this twisted. Like, we are sales guys through and through. Like, we get it. We get the game. So not everybody's going to get the results that Shawn and I get right out of the gates. But if you practice sales, you have a process, you're training your team constantly, like your conversion can get really, really good over time. And it's going to depend on what market you're in, right? So we have converted, I'm going to keep this on me. We have converted cold call leads. At the best, we did it 21 leads to a contract, which is the best we've ever done. We've only done that one time, 1 month and 30 days. We consistently convert cold call leads from 31 to 35 leads to a contract. Consistently. Now you go into some other markets. We're in Scottsdale, Arizona right now. We are definitely not in North Carolina. But you go into markets like this, that conversion rate is 100% going to go up.
That's what I was going to touch on is if I have a secret. If you want leads to contract to be 10, I know the secret. I can give the sauce right now. If you want 10 leads to a contract, ladies and gentlemen, go wholesale in South Dakota, Iowa, North Dakota. If you want, you got to understand the game. They don't understand it. California, 100 leads to a contract. It could be more than that. It could be less than. It could be a little bit less than that. But it all matters about where you're at the end of the day.
We got a guy that's actually going to be here today at this massive free meetup that we're doing. Probably 150, close to 200 people are showing up. But he's out of Washington, and he was not a believer in cold calling. He was not. And he has, I think he's got 6, 7 callers with us right now. And dude, he literally asked, he's like, bro, can I be exclusive with you guys?
He did,
Can I be exclusive because you have absolutely changed my business. And he didn't believe in it in the beginning. And he is doing multiple 6 figures a month in a state where people said it's a hard state to wholesale in.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it, literally. So if you are somebody that's getting started, like I would highly encourage you, you're probably gonna have to bootstrap it the way Shawn did in the beginning, right? He was cold calling, it was a grind. He signed up for it. He stuck with it is the main part there. He had the grit and the hustle and the vision of what was on the other side of that grind. If you're at that place, this is what I highly encourage you to do. You want to get out of that seat of being the cold caller as fast as humanly possible, right?
It's the only way.
And what you want to do is you want to outsource the work that is, I would say, the most labor intensive, the most
non-money making activities.
There you go, non-money making activities. And as soon as you can outsource that cold calling, it gets so much more fun. Right?
Way more fun. Because you're only talking to people that are pleasant, they've already been pre-vetted, and you're actually doing money-making activities. You're negotiating on how much money you're ultimately gonna make if you get this house versus trying to, on the front end, just convert cold call, try to convert raw data and convince people, hey, you should sell your house. It's different.
So cold calling, for anybody out there, coming from 2 guys that are actively in the business, I would have to say, and I say this with confidence, we are in the top 1% of wholesalers in the United States of America.
Guaranteed.
I say that with absolute confidence. Cold calling's not dead. We live and die by this. You take cold calling out of my business today, we take 8 steps back. And we are freaking tripping over everything to try and figure out how to get that consistent lead flow. So, listen, man, I appreciate you, Shawn, for coming out here. The people watching this, it doesn't matter what age you are at. And this is even for those people that are 45, 50, 60 years old. Don't let your age be a factor of why you can't jump in this game. He's in his 20s, I'm in my mid 40s, and we're doing the thing, we're doing the damn thing. So, and then cold calling is not dead. If you are looking for cold callers, what I want you to do is reach out to me. You can reach out to me on the Eric Cline, DM me cold callers. Shawn, before we let all of these amazing people go, how do they get a hold of you?
So Instagram's the #1 way. Instagram is just my first name, last name, Shawn, S-H-A-W-N, last name Surani, S-U-R-A-N-I. Hit me up on Instagram. That's the best way.
Awesome. And if you could leave these people with one piece of advice. And let's say for the newcomer, man, the person, or you know what? I'm just going to leave it on you. One piece of advice, what would you give them?
I think I'll split it real quick. So what I'll say is couple of things. One, bet on yourself. It's so critical. And burn the boats.
Burn the
boats.
boats.
You gotta burn the boats, baby, especially if you're a young guy, because you got time.
Yeah.
Even a dang bankruptcy only stays on your report for 7 years, baby. You got time.
Yeah.
Burn the boats. Go all in. That's my number one piece of advice. Number two, consume the right knowledge. Follow the right things and vet, trust, right? Trust the right things and verify every single thing. And sometimes it's okay to go a little bit more conventional with your education. Like I said, business first, in my opinion. Go study, go read the best business books. Understand how business people made their wealth and how they scaled their businesses. That's the best way to do this business because no one attacks it from that angle. So don't be afraid of the conventional education like a lot of people are. Yeah. And I think those two things, if you can burn the boats, truly believe in yourself, go all in, replace yourself from the minute, mundane tasks on the day-to-day basis as fast as possible. Take yourself out of those. Focus on money-making activities. Focus on what you're good at and double down on that. And that goes back to betting on yourself. And don't be afraid to get involved with conventional education a little bit and understand things from different angles. You will be successful. That's the key.
Let's go, y'all.
Cool.
From the real ones.
Yes, sir.
So,
pleasure.
Everyone out there, go all in, bet on yourself, burn the boats, and fucking just make it happen. Until next time, y'all, pick up the phone and start dialing.